Hey, what's up, Canada and beyond? Welcome back. It is Tuesday, August 13th, and we're going to have a slight change of plan as to what I'm going to be covering today. Partly because the story got too big on me, and I didn't have time to get it finished. And I think it's important for me to do this in one show. So rather than trying to ram it into a space it doesn't fit, we'll probably revisit that on Thursday, but we're going to be, taking a closer look at some of the worst swamp creatures in Canada that others are finally starting to take notice of. And by that, I mean the talking heads outside of Canada that cover everything on a global scale. They have all kinds of usual suspects, but not enough credit goes to Canada. But that's okay. That's okay, because we're still tonight going to give a whole bunch of credit where credit is due. And I'm going to kind of set the tone for just a second with this post from Paul Mitchell and let this resonate with everybody a little bit before we dive into some of the other clown world escapades that we're dealing with. But the post is: Canada is a country with members of parliament who are known foreign agents who are protected by Parliament as they help push for a flood of mass migration from the foreign countries they actually work for that will permanently destroy Canada as we know it. And he says, any questions? And I thought that was a great way to get people warmed up and in the festive mood. Tell us how you really feel. What kind of questions do you have digging into some of all of that? So that today that's where we're going to start with analyzing some of what we're going to see over the next little while. But to give a little bit of a buffer in between that, I'm going to take us for a very quick little stroll down history lane. So while I'm doing that, guys, chime in the comments. Let us know where you're watching from. Please give this a like and a share. A share, if you don't like what I'm doing here, you're probably not here. Don't have a reason to be here. So there's that. So I kind of hope that you guys like what I'm doing here, trying to make it a little bit better every day, every week, every month. But it's sharing that matters. That's what makes the difference, and I kind of highlighted that for a second last night. The impact that we have is far, far greater than what we may realize or think. So you guys are very deeply appreciated. Awesome. I've seen some comments in here. Winnipeg, awesome, Val. Alameda, not California, excellent. I see a bunch of the folks that I love very dearly. Hey, Dryden. Hey, Canada, the unassuming, deepest, darkest swamp. Absolutely nailed it there, Cousin Jody. How you doing? From Calgary. Malfunction. Oops. This is grassroots, authentic and real. Where else we got here? Toronto, Cape Breton, Stonecliff, awesome. Where else we got? California. Hey, California in the house. Saskatchewan, Nova Scotia, Wetaskiwin, Roche Percé. I remember that lovely little place. Awesome to see you guys in the house. Trenton, awesome. Swift Current. Montreal, Facebook's been cracking down lately. Can't share this. It's USA election season. Oh, baby ducks, we're going to touch on a little bit of some of that here tonight too. So it's going to be rapid fire. I got a pile of stuff to cover. We're going to start though with a minute from Glenn Beck. I'm just going to let him do the intro here.
When we were writing the Overton window, found this poem from Rudyard Kipling, which has been an absolute favorite of mine ever since. I had never heard it before. It's only published in one book, and it's because it's a warning against the progressives, or in his case, the Fabian socialists.
Ding, ding, ding.
And I remember reading it and thinking, wow, look what's coming. And now almost all of it has been done. Just a cycle that Kipling saw back around World War I and then put into a poem to remind people it's going to come again. It's called The Gods of the Copybook Headings. And copybook headings used to be, things that were up at the top of your writing book when you used to have to practice penmanship. And it would be in cursive, and it would say,
All right, so basically he's talking about headlines, the gods of the headlines in layman's terms. you maybe you see this coming already, little farmer. Awesome, fantastic. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, of course, the link to Glenn's unpacking of this, but we're going to look into it. And I thought I would go ahead and read you guys the poem. You can find it on Wikipedia. I pulled it up here. And remember the first comment about Canada having people in government that were knowing, aiding, and abetting foreigners? All right. So I'll see if I can I make this a little bit bigger for the 4x2s while I read it. All right, that should be a little bit better. So let's dig in. This is by Rudyard Kipling, written in 1919, just post World War I, and only published once. And when I read it, I was like, tum, 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 tum. And I think you will be too. So as I pass through my incarnations in every age and race, I make my proper prostrations to the gods of the marketplace. I get that. Peering through reverent fingers, I watch them flourish and fall, and the gods of the copybook headings, I noticed, outlast them all. We've covered a few of those gods of the headlines lately, have we not? Right? So we were living in trees when they met us. They showed us each in turn that water would certainly wet us, as fire would certainly burn. But we found them lacking in uplift, vision, and breadth of mind, so we left them to each, the gorillas, while we followed the march of mankind. We moved as the spirit listed. They never altered their pace, neither bring neither cloud nor wind born like the gods of the marketplace, but they always caught up with our progress, and presently word would come that a tribe had been wiped off its ice field, and the lights had gone out in Rome. With the hopes that our world is built on, they were utterly out of touch. They denied that the moon was Stiltian. They denied she was even Dutch. They denied the wishes were horses. They denied that a pig had wings. So we worshipped the gods of the market who promised these beautiful things. When the Cambrian measures were forming, they promised perpetual peace. They swore if we gave them our weapons, that the wars of the tribes would cease. But when we were disarmed, they sold us and delivered us, bound to our foe. And the gods of the copybook headings said, stick to the devil you know. On the first Fenian sandstones, we were promised the fuller life, which started by loving our neighbor and ended by loving his wife, till our women had no more children, and the men lost reason and faith, and the gods of the copybook headings said, the wages of sin is death. In the Carboniferous epoch, we were promised abundance for all, by robbing selected Peter to pay for collective Paul. But though we had plenty of money, there was nothing our money could buy, and the gods of the copybook headings said, if you don't work, you die. When the gods of the markets tumbled, and their smooth-tongued wizards withdrew, and the hearts of the meanest were humbled and began to believe it was true, that all is not gold that glitters, and two make four, and the gods of the copybook headings limped up to explain it once more. As it will be in the future, it was at the birth of man. There are only four things certain since social progress began: that the dog returns to his vomit, and the sow returns to her mire, and the burnt fool's bandaged finger goes wobbling back to the fire. And after this is accomplished and the brave new world begins, when all men are paid for existing and no man must pay for his sins, as surely as water will wet us, as surely as fire will burn, the gods of the copybook headings with terror and slaughter return. Does that not just send chills up and down your spine, folks? Um, this was 1919, 100 years ago. This guy understood what was coming and how we would be lured back into uh, Satan's candy, the devil's candy of convenience and uh, immorality and all of those things uh, that disappear when civilization starts to fall apart, right? So now we're going to get into some other stuff now, but if that poem isn't so indicative of where we are right now, um, in exactly like the post I was just reading, the where we started off with Paul Mitchell. Canada is a country's members of parliament who are known foreign agents. Where this one upsets me is that people are only have eyes and focus for the easily targeted ones, the obvious ones, the Chinese infiltration or the Indian infiltration, whoever those guys are. They're referring to the 11, and they're overlooking the other 300 and some that are meat muppets to the World Economic Forum or the United Nations, or are born in some place like Somalia, have spent time in foreign prison as terrorists. Yeah, I'm talking about Ahmed Hussein, one of Trudeau's loving sycophants. This is kind of exactly where we're at. So, when I go through that poem, paragraph by paragraph, it really makes me embarrassed to an extent, because there was up until I always questioned things, but I didn't see the depth or breadth of it all until I actually until I actually committed my whole life to it. I knew way more than I should already before I did that, but once I went you know OCD on this and launched What's Up Canada, uh, here we are several years later. So I'm going to spin off and first do a little bit of uh, housekeeping, I guess. Guys, when we cover these kinds of things, uh, I hope I'm not just sounding like a broken record when I tell people to go and get plugged in on platforms like LGM.news and on Substack, because very soon, guys, very soon, communication is going to get incredibly difficult once again. Last night's show was removed from YouTube for violating the same problems that we had in 2021 with the beer bug. Guys, they're coming at us again with the censorship. It is building, and you guys are going to see a little bit more of that here today. So I really, 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 really cannot stress enough how important it is for this community to be able to maintain communications, not just online, but everywhere in the physical form as well. Guys, we got to get plugged into each other while we still can. So the last thing that I want to mention is a story from What's Up Canada. That I'm hoping that people will resonate with this once again, and maybe as Glenn spoke about the Overton window, I've come to learn that this platform and this community tends to be ahead of the rest of the country and oftentimes the rest of the world in the Overton window as to what things matter. Perfect case in point, that 1919 poem means as much today, 105 years later, as it did when it was written, and probably even more now because we've seen the evidence of it in between. And this is a story. So going back to my birthday of 2020, I sat down and I wrote this impromptu one morning when I got up. I got a person to help me edit it and another person to help me lay it out, and I read it out on my platform that night and kind of gave it out to the wind to let it be what it would be. unbeknownst to me, I found out on July 3rd that a member of a veteran, a major, had come across this expression of frustration and remedy and recipe for remedy in Canada, and had distributed it to all senators. Every senator got a copy of it, and 37 MPs got a copy of this in 2020. He read it from Parliament Hill steps that day, Canada Day of 2020. When I found out on the 3rd of July that he had read my document from the Hill, it had almost 600,000 views on it on Facebook alone. And by the 4th or 5th of July, it was gone, and he had been dispatched to faraway extreme conflict zones, shall we say. So I just been hearing people talking about, what would a 10 commandments for our next prime minister look like? Which made me think that if people are ready to have that discussion again, maybe this will help them come together on things. We can find a bazillion things to argue and squabble and fight about, but if we can't find a few things to agree upon and build on, that's where I think we're in trouble. And I think we're getting in our own way at this point in Canada, and it's getting dangerously close, and people that have burnt themselves are still reaching back into that fire, thinking that there is a solution without action or responsibility. And this, after listening to people across the country, coast to coast, was what I could put it all into one story, into one thing that would make sense. And this was what came of it. So I'm hoping that y'all will get over on to X, and I'll just, for everybody's convenience, I don't usually get derailed like this, but I will add the link to this one in all of the chats as I go here, and we'll get on to the next one. All right, guys, this one, CBC paid over 18 million in bonuses at the same time as it eliminated hundreds of jobs and shut down most of the remaining local and regional outlets that they had left. Have been have been dismissed or pensioned off, or either which way, dispatched of. And so they got another $18 million in bonuses for running, helping to balance the budget or something, I would suspect. But meanwhile, this one, I literally I hurt myself laughing when I came across this. CBC saying 7 in 10 Canadians tuned in for the Paris 2024, with record-breaking digital consumption of 170% over Tokyo 2020. Does anybody actually believe that? This is what they are, trying to tell us. And here's why this is so laughable, because we've got every left-wing neo-Marxist clone trooper cookie cutter politician that is carrying the water for Trudeau and the young world leaders, WEF, Fourth Reich. Anybody that's carrying the water for them is desperately afraid of us finishing the job and putting the CBC out of its misery as Canadians. So this is their way to rally back and say that no, the CBC is a cultural institution, and the whole world needs it, right? So this is gaslighting, guys, with whatever's left of the that they didn't give away in their latest round of bonuses, right? And meanwhile, we've got this this meat muppet trying to blame Pierre Poilievre for failing workers, and they've been very busy trying to blame the conservatives for this recent round of terrorist arrests. That's Harper's fault. Somehow it's Harper's fault. We're going to look at some things here tonight that are probably going to boil your briskets a little bit. So, a United Nations report has severely criticized Canada's temporary foreign worker program, describing it as a breeding ground for modern slavery. Well, I tend to agree with that. The report, I'll digress on that point a little bit later. The report highlights a significant rise in the number of program participants, increasing from 84,000 in 2018 to 135 by 2022. Even these numbers are incredibly low and late. It points out systemic issues that exploit workers, including power imbalances that favor employers and limit workers' rights. The UN envoy has called for reforms, specifically advocating for a pathway to permanent residency for migrant workers to mitigate ongoing exploitation and labor abuses within the program. The UN says we're not doing enough to support and guarantee these people have everything that they think that they should have here in Canada, and our human rights record is failing. And even that Trudeau trying to appoint this dude, this guy, who is an open advocate of terrorism, who now just resigned before he actually even got appointed. The position for his stance on terrorism was supposed to be the advocate representing the human rights records in Canada. This is, guys, this is so beyond absurd. They're literally placing known terrorists into positions that have even been caught on social media platforms bragging about their thoughts and their desire to implement Sharia, and that bombing is okay if it's justified. We've got the courts siding with torture of children because it's their cultural norm to do so, that they should be able to do that here in Canada. Folks, some of this junk is out of control, right? Absolutely out of control. And when they do get here, this is going to infuriate you guys. Some of these folks, this Badwilan Muhammad, I'm guessing not born in Canada, probably replaced one of the people that tried to defend us and were deemed criminal for not buying into the beer bug panic Stasi, is literally making up to $510,000 a year working for this corrupt system. These are the people that are given that aren't getting enough. This guy is supposed to get more for us, from more out of us from, so that the UN can be happy with so that is everybody supposed to have this kind of life income? Because Canadians sure as hell are not getting any kind of respect or support for anything like that. And if you should try and say anything, well, guess what? Then you're going to get to meet the Canadian Anti-Hate Network. I got another story that's kind of in between these, but I'm going to move that one to kind of a little bit further down the road. And we're going to dive into this one. This is one that I take seriously. I have watched Antifa beats down pastors. I have watched them gang up and literally with their boots, 5 or 6 of them, kick the out of a 72-year-old man. And if that wasn't enough, they took bricks to him. We were outnumbered 30-1, given testimony, given video, given footage to the police. none of it matters because all of those guys are protected by this organization, the Canadian Anti-Hate Network. And I am so grateful that finally somebody outside of our crushed media space has been able to get this story out there, and we can finally say it's not just us reporting this. We are not fringe conspiracy theorists, guys. I did a documentary on these guys in 2021 and exposed way more than what these guys are getting into, but these guys are getting better into the money. So Blacklocks put out an article this week, and this is we needs to know and understand this because there needs to be investigations. People needs to be held accountable. This is just scratching the surface, guys, just barely scratching the surface. So this guy, is the author of an anti-Catholic blacklist distributed by federally subsidized activists. And he says he's not an anarchist per se, but used to demonstrate with Antifa Youth Federation. And distributors were paid $640,000. That is a lot of money, guys. And who hired him? The book was published August 7th after Anti-Hate Network received federal subsidies for research funding, including $440,000 from Canadian Heritage and Pascal Saint-Onge. So these people, this federal MP and this agency, which was, if I'm not mistaken, basically, was it not Stéphane Gilbeau? Is it not Stéphane Gilbeau that was running this agency for the most of the last several years? And $200,000 from Public Safety Canada. This $200,000 of your money, folks, from Public Safety Canada funding far left radical Marxist Antifa. Literally assassination squads of the truth. And of course, Dominic LeBlanc. Dominic. This Dominic. So who signs off on $640,000 in taxpayers' money for a report written by an American anarchist? Unaccountable departments of Canadian Heritage and Safety Canada, Pascal Saint-Onge, whoever she might be, besides Dirty and Crooked, and Dominic LeBlanc. So it's time people start to get to know who some of these meat muppets are and what they've actually been up to here in the swamp in Canada, because this meat muppet was a purported frontrunner, Trudeau's longest serving family friend and ally and crony in Ottawa and in the swamp that is our government, is rumored to be one of the front-running leading candidates to replace Trudeau in the Liberal Party. This is as dark and dank and nasty of a swamp creature as you can have when they are literally hiring fascists and Nazis to intimidate, attack, and assault. It is these guys that are the alphabet soup bulwarks. They are entrenched in the unions. I covered all of this in a documentary in 2021, brought the receipts, all of them there. We identified 15 unions and members. To this date, there's been 3 that have been arrested. 1 union member from Hamilton during the Extinction Rebellion riots where they were trying to burn down trains. So these guys have interchangeable masks. They're Antifa one minute, they're natives the next minute, they're climate crusaders the next minute, they're alphabet soup, LGBT, blah, 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 enforcers the next minute. This week, this month, they are free Palestine. These are the guys that are hired by these organizations. This organization organized and hired by these organizations through money received by these individuals, quote unquote, elected members of parliament, right? And this is what they're buying, freak show radicals from the US. And then they have like mercenary media up here whine and snivel about us importing US politics. Well, nobody's paying more money to import US politics and US division and US terrorism, grassroots terrorism, than these two right here, front running, leading folks with the Liberal Party of Canada. But this guy says, nah, I'm no anarchist. It's what was his quote in the bottom of this? I'm not an anarchist in the anti-statist sense. It just pays well. So that was his response to that. And other parts of the mercenary squadron. This one I thought is interesting to this, because there's a couple of agencies hired assassins. They'll take the money and do whatever. Warren Kinsella and the Daisy Group is absolutely one of them. And this guy here, ex-editor from iPolitics.ca, Canadian political news opinion and analysis, with 82,000 followers, was paid $52,000 for 6 months of communications advice by Liberal appointed senators. I'm not here asking for a handout. James Baxter calls himself a Canadian journalist, founding editor and publisher of iPolitics. Was paid to advise those senators to do those kinds of things. And basically, he's just, he defends it. Liberal appointed senators bill taxpayers thousands for media advice from a former iPolitics editor. Records show journalism was never my stable employment, says James Baxter, who earlier testified at a Commons committee hearing. I'm not here asking for a handout. What a pompous piece of trash. Pompous piece of trash. I suppose I should kind of get into the role of all of this, that I haven't really had a chance to go back and look through some of the comments, and there's so many of you guys that are chirping in and letting us know. Try and get to a couple of these, and before I get my blood rate elevated too high. Let's see here. Since 1992, yep, that's when I started implementing the policy. Human trafficking, inland pirates, 100%. I've been talking with a lot of U.S. folks lately, and they've been asking, well, why? Well, the most succinct way I can describe it is the United Nations is the single largest human trafficking organization in the history of the planet, and they intend to legitimize, normalize, and own slavery in the entire Western world. And the World Economic Forum is their policy creation, their think tank for telling, for dreaming up the policies that they can get the UN to leverage and blackmail across the world. And of course, the UN, and if you haven't been following here for a while, you will understand that the United Nations is a meat muppet for the OIC, which is the Organization of Islamic Coalition, the largest voting bloc. What they want, the UN proclaims. And our meat muppets kick the can down the road when Uncle Klaus and the IMF and the WHO and all of these lieutenants, these Goerings and Goebbels and Mengelas, figure out how they can make this work in their, medium mercenary programming magic. They make it happen, and then we end up living with the consequences of these radical experiments. Right? I'm going to have to go through some of these comments later, guys. There's just a lot more to cover here, and I was getting pretty cranked up because this is something we have to understand, what these mercenaries are doing and how it's working. And these guys are plugged in. The anti-hate network So federally subsidized anti-hate blacklisted Catholic group as a hate movement. They claim most haters are white people. The quote unquote research follows the 640,000 subsidy from Pascal L'Ange. So how that works, they pay Antifa a boatload of money. Antifa delivers the report that they want. Anti-Hate Network, ARC Resources, and a few other organizations, they launder fluff that narrative and message that together in through the Mosaic Institute, the Atlantic Corporation, Southern Poverty Law Center, all of these organizations. And then they disseminate that they write a white paper, or they write reports and contributes to the reports on an organization called TSAS, which stands for Terrorism, Security, and Society. And I can't show you this, guys, that their site, guys, because they've literally had me blocked for like 3 years from accessing any of their sites once they figured out that I was on to them. So that is where then they compile all of these Antifa writers together and give Christia, the talking tater Tot Freeland, a report, and she goes and says Catholics are now the most dangerous society in our country. Before it was far-right nationalists, now it's Catholics, then it's anti-jabbers, now it's climate deniers. This organization and what these guys are funding are the absolute root of this, and they have some of the biggest, highest paid lawyers in the country that are probably going to be knocking at my door for talking about all of this again after they came so close to destroying me the last time. So all of this is going to be in my Substack for everybody tomorrow. I don't have a subscription with Black Locks. I should. It's not really enough consistently in the budget for this, but I'm going to see about doing that, because this to me is one of the biggest stories that needs to get some life. It's the same organization that labeled Jeremy McKenzie and Diagolon as an international threat, so that this, the biggest meat muppet of them all, of the young global Fourth Reich leaders, could invoke the Emergencies Act. So by extension, literally, I am telling you guys that through this organization and their ability to create and manufacture people that our government can then feel justified in labeling as a danger to the state, which is, i.e., every single one of us. These are the organizations that make that happen for this meat muppet. So when he calls us intolerable, how do we tolerate these people? That's that organization that makes it happen. This one right here. The antihate.ca, the Canadian Anti-Hate Network, have gotten nearly $1 billion for doing this to us, manifesting, creating dangers to the state. So now this Catholic group is blacklisted as a hate movement in a taxpayer-subsidized guide by the Anti-Hate Network alongside neo-Nazis and skinheads. How are we doing so far in tracking down hate groups in Canada, guys? Right? This is how Christianity is under attack, under assault. So the next thing I've got on this is from the reporter himself. I'm only going to play the first couple of minutes of this, guys, but it's important that you hear this from the horse's mouth.
I don't know what it is about Canada, how we love to import everything from the United States. I'm not talking about, Amazon. I'm talking about, they have sanctuary cities, so we have to have sanctuary cities. They have a Black Lives Matter, so we have to have black. They talk about reparations, we talk about reparations. They have the Southern Poverty Law Center. There's a bunch of wackos down there who will label pro-family, pro-life groups as hate movements.
Southern Poverty Law Center is owned by George Soros. Just like Change.org and MasterCard and a whole lot more.
So we have the Canadian Anti-Hate Network. Of course, they're at the public trough, sucking at the teat of government, taking our tax money, basically to beat us over the head with it and call us all a bunch of bigots. Well, they're at it again. And here to tell us more, Tom Korski, managing editor of Blacklock's Reporter. Hey, Tom, welcome back. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you, Richard.
All right. So who are they after this time? The Canadian Anti-Hate Network. Catholic groups. Tell me more.
Well, they published a guide. The problem is the public funding. Taxpayers have provided funding to this group, Canadian Anti-Hate Network. They're an advocacy group. They have no particular expertise. My opinion, my 2 cents, it's just a bunch of guys, but they do have an in with the federal departments, and they know how to figure out a grant application.
Yeah, that's their
This is not
expertise.
small potatoes. Exactly. I mean, they don't publish peer-reviewed articles, etc. But grant applications, they get an A+. $640,000 in federal subsidies in the last 9 months, including for research. Canadian Anti-Hate Network research into hate groups, and what did they do? They republished a 6-year-old American publication, and they revised portions of it to apply to the Canadian context. And in their blacklist of hate movements is a Catholic group. It's called Campaign Life. If you've ever heard of Campaign Life, they're famous for one event. They get Catholic school children to come up to Ottawa in June, and they have a one-day rally on Parliament Hill, and there's music, and they give some speeches, and everyone's happy. And they have a parade and some banners. Their children, these are high schoolers, and then some MPs, in the old days, even Liberal MPs, would go out and they'd give some speeches to this Catholic group. Well, now they're blacklisted as a hate movement in this guide published by a taxpayer-subsidized advocacy group. Also, Catholic-affiliated news website. It's called LifeSite News. And they subscribe to stories from the Catholic News Agency. In other words, this is pretty Catholic. And they're blacklisted alongside neo-Nazis and skinheads. How are we doing so far, Richard, on tracking down hate groups in Canada? It's unbelievable.
Brilliant. Yeah, let's go after the nuns and high school children because they object to, well, they want to protect the most vulnerable, the unborn. That's basically what the pro-life coalition is about, the Campaign Life Coalition, rather. And so now they are likened to skinheads and neo-Nazis. How disgraceful. Canadian Anti-Hate Network added again $640,000. They lift out of our pockets. That's yearly, right? They get that stipend every year.
Oh, it's worse than that. This just in the last 9 months. Oh. Last year, they went to the Commons Finance Committee and they said, you know what? We would like to be kind of an unofficial anti-hate watchdog, but we don't want to rely on subscriptions or have a bake sale for fundraising. So what we would like is $1 million a year from taxpayers for the next 5 years, a total of $5 million. And we're going to keep an eye on people that we don't like that we then call haters. Well, even the Commons Finance Committee said, oh, that's laying it on a bit thick, but they did get $640,000 in the last 9 months. Richard, I don't want to be unfair.
Nah, to heck with you, Richard, and the other fella. I absolutely want to be unfair. I have seen these guys beat down seniors and cripple them. And there is no way on earth that these guys should even exist, let alone be funded by Canadian taxpayer dollars that are stolen by this regime. Oh, Stefan, these guys have been trying to wipe me out for a very, very long time. And this guy's, it's rough. It's poor finishing on it, but this I'll add it into the links in the Substack tomorrow morning. I name names, I give places, I show you the documents, the court transcripts, where literally Warren Kinsella and Bernie Farber and a few others call each other brothers from other mothers in court transcripts. This is how intertwined these guys are to the mercenary media. And, you know, it's those guys that call us radical because we don't want to live like this forever. Another one coming up, guys. More Palestinian dissent, and coming up. And this is this coming Saturday. They intend to shut down downtown Toronto again, guys. This is dangerous stuff. They have all the mosques that they need. You don't see women and children in there blocking the traffic. This is the equivalent of the neighbor's dog marking their territory. That doesn't mean I'm calling them dogs. I'm calling that the purpose of it. They want to show dominance over us. That's what this is about. These people have no business being tolerated doing this. Where are these, you know, stompy horses in the real police forces that are showing these? They're protecting these guys. They are literally protecting these guys above and beyond the will and protection of the Canadian people. And they are becoming emboldened. They are getting braver. They are getting louder. This post here, this is I'm not gonna.
Came with. End of story.
Yeah.
You have
This is only a minute and 43 seconds, guys. So I'm going to read you for the folks on the 4x2s. This imam is specifically glorifying and inciting terror to young people. The Jews, I'm sure he's implying, are the enemies of Allah, and Allah will ultimately take revenge against the oppressors in Palestine and elsewhere. Sheikh Jonas Cathader's sermon aired on the Muslim Youth Victoria BC YouTube channel. Great. Young men, young radicalized men. O Allah, destroy the enemies of Islam, the heretics and the atheists, and grant victory to those who wage jihad. Last Saturday in Montreal, they were saying it doesn't matter who you are, if you are not enthusiastically supporting them, you will be destroyed as well. So from Montreal to British Columbia, we are getting this message. You and I are getting this message loud and clear. But the people that are here to watch over things and make sure this doesn't happen are either not getting the message or are ignoring the message or are choosing to protect the messengers in this regard. And this has got to stop. And this is going to take us coming together on some of those principles that I outlined in that declaration of notice in order for us to make these people do what they should be doing, right? So I'll play this. And you guys can tell me whether this is Canada is undergoing a transition to a two-tier system of justice, and our swamp isn't dangerously full of critters that want us dead.
This is a nation that does not imitate those whom Allah has become angry with. Those whom Allah has become angry with. This is why we seek refuge from being upon their path every day in every salah. غَيْرِ الْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ. Guide us to the straight path, not the path of those whom you are angry with. And they are the Jews. Like it or not, I couldn't care less. This is what we know from the Quran. This is the truth with which Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam came with. End of story. You have a problem with what I said? Take it up with the one who actually revealed it to us. But look at our pathetic state of affairs today. Today, we want to be like them. They are who? They are the enemies of Allah. Like it or not, they are the enemies of Allah. But we want to emulate them. We want to imitate them. We want to be like them. As a matter of fact, if our kids imitate them, and act and behave like them, dress like them, we feel a sense of pride and happiness. What a calamity that has befallen us. Allahumma a'izz al-Islam wal-Muslimin. Allahumma a'izz al-Islam
No,
wal-Muslimin.
no.
Wa adhill al
No, I just can't. That to me is just straight up evil, being perpetrated, being, from the pulpit, and this is happening coast to coast, guys. These guys are calling for the end of us. This is intolerable, to the point where not only are the police protecting them, they have literally got the likes of Danielle Smith in Alberta. Everybody thinks Alberta is this resistance state. Well, she's cowing to them, and they're going to have the first Sharia law banking in the country. This is political Islam conquering our country, guys. And they have known about this for a very long time. So now we're going to watch former CSIS official who says they've been warning how every government over the last 5 decades has been infiltrated for years, and every PM has been compromised. He said our selected officials are not the ones making the decisions, and the worst part is nothing ever has or will be done about it.
All previous governments were also ignoring what we were saying.
So, Michelle, as you said, you've been raising these flags of interference for years. Why do you think it has taken so long for all of this to come out publicly?
I think there is 2 reasons. One of the reasons is that there was an element of partisanry. There was an element that could be useful to the government in power, or the people who wanted to get in power or stay in power. And they saw useful to simply keep a certain statu quo. The other element is definitely we have evidence that we have been infiltrated by agents of influence, people working on behalf of the Chinese intelligence service, not necessarily spy, but people who have been recruited and being capable to influence the power at bay. So this has been going on for the last 40 years, from Mr. Mulroney all the way to Mr. Trudeau today. Every prime minister has been compromised at one point or another by those agents of influence.
Every prime minister, you say, has been compromised by those agents.
Prime minister.
There's one part that bothers me about this. He says from Mulroney forward, and he exempts Trudeau Sr., who was the foundational, him and people like Maurice Strong, who was Max Bernier's father's best friend, brother from another mother, who sponsored Max Bernier into politics when he first came into politics, and was also one of the most controversial, scandal-ridden politicians until Max's father got kicked out. So this has been cycling through our political system for even longer than just Brian Mulroney. Don't forget, especially for our American friends out there, Justin Trudeau's father was a card-carrying communist and was not allowed in the United States of America. This should be nothing new to Canadians. The fact that all parties, all of them, every last one of them have been compromised, and they know, and we continue to play the charade. I don't know how many more reasons I can come up with for everybody to maybe take a second look at what this might be and what it might look like to fix Canada, right? All right.
Every prime minister.
Every prime minister.
Every office was compromised. And when we brought the warning, nobody listened.
That is quite the assertion to make, sir. How much do you think, considering that, is this a security risk for Canadians?
It is a phenomenal security risk because basically you can ask yourself the question, who's really running the country? Is it a foreign entity or is it our government? And this is the problem that we are currently facing, is that we have been neglecting And at the end of the day, we might need an independent body to investigate properly what is going on currently. Not a question of finding the culprit in the past, but definitely trying to take the measures today in order to protect ourselves for the futures. And we need to sort of inspire ourselves from some action that we're taking, like, for example, in 2017 in Australia, they vote for a law against foreign interference. We need that kind of tools to be capable to enforce some kind of protection. And as the whistleblower.
So when they talk about having some kinds of tools, well, young Castro has pretended to craft a bill to recognize and criminalize foreign bad actors. But when you look at the language of it, he's actually spun it so that we are the ones that are recognized as under foreign influence because we're not buying what the state is selling. That's how these new laws are being written here in Canada. And meanwhile, we've got a government that fully believes that they can rehabilitate radicals. They believe that they can rehabilitate, this was the poetry and art solution. I wanted to bring this up again because they genuinely, in all of their stupidity, Trudeau said it himself, we're going to monitor them. We are also there to help them to let go of that terrorist ideology. Oh my. Sometimes the things that come into my mouth should not be there. But I didn't want to get into this one because it's absolutely disgusting. I was adamantly against all of this. This is one of the things that got me involved in what I'm doing right now for all of you guys was the migration compact and the gobbledygook propaganda and lies that they were engaging in then. That was when I first started to expose Antifa, was all of this then, because those were the henchmen for the government at that time already in 2019. So yeah, crazy stuff. But this is so the next story is kind of a bigger deal. A lot of people are envious that the White House made a joint statement from the White House that the United States, United Kingdom, France, Germany, and Italy they're back in Israel. They got Israel's back. No matter what, they got Israel's back. And a lot of people are upset thinking, wow, we got left out. But, why are these guys, these allies, not including us in their, virtue signaling parade? And they're trying to use this as, well, Justin Trudeau is increasingly a pariah on the international stage. Well, the truth is, guys, we are going to perhaps dodge a bullet there, but that bullet is here. The reason Canada got left out of this particular agreement to endorse Israel's defense of itself over there is because of Trudeau's unending support for Hamas and UNRWA. Well, that's basically what it boils down to. They're shunning Canada, all right, but why? Why? Because Canada funds terrorism, foreign and domestic, as we have just looked at once yet again. This government establishment, and that's the one, Mountain Man. The Global Migration Compact in 2018 would not have happened without the Conservative Party, or enough of them, taking part in that as well. So even the next prime minister, it's people have gotten stuck in this. We just get them out, get Trudeau out at all costs, at any cost. It's a joke. It's a joke. I cannot live. It's a lie. I cannot live anymore. I've shown people, but they're not allowed to see it. I've shown them where Pierre Poilievre has signed on the same frickin' dotted lines as Trudeau. All of them, they're all in it together. Uniparty isn't just a catchphrase. It means they are obligated to the same damn to-do list. And these guys on our to-do list are choosing the side of foreign migration, aka, or pardon me, foreign invasion under the illusion of migration and immigration and pity and empathy and terrorists that he thinks that he can rehabilitate and give them a free dime whenever he wanted, whenever any of them wants to come here. And we get destroyed through bioweapons programs and manufactured crises allowing emergency powers. And guess what, guys? They're going to do it again. So last night's show, I showed a clip from Dr. Malhotra, who said that these bioweapons should not have ever been administered to a single human. There's a whole lot of other stuff that's coming out now that's absolutely worse than any nightmare that we tried to warn people about. But here's the significant part of this story. They canceled my show last night for the same community standards infraction that they used when they removed the Doctor Talk series in 2021. So they have re-implemented the algorithms for silencing the anti-jabbers. So they are coming. They are coming with the mpox next and the explosion of the beer virus, and it's all part and parcel to take us where they want us. But this is, to me, the tripwire. YouTube, I still stream to YouTube. I don't promote it at all. I use it as the tripwire because where I'm going to get busted for something I do is going to be done first on YouTube. So now I know where they're going to be coming at me and from what point. They tell me what I broke. So this is it. Here it comes, guys. The propaganda is ramping up. And where are they trying to take us? Right here. This is a little clip from Australia, where Finance Minister Katie Gallagher reveals that the Digital ID Act will commence. So I think this is important because this is the end goal for them under Trudeau's reign.
The digital ID legislation has not come into effect yet. It doesn't come into effect until the 1st of December this year. The law is very clear that there must be alternate ways provided for the community to engage with government. That has been made very clear across government. And I would say if you want to forward me that constituent, I would be issue, even if it's de-identified, I'd be very happy to look at it. But we have been very clear. It is a voluntary system. It is a safe system. It is a secure system. And it's simply a means of verifying yourself in a way that gives you control of your own documentation.
So the digital ID, the Arrive scam scandal, the biometrics programs, they're a little bit ahead of Trudeau on the race in the race towards all of that, because we have been so non-compliant so far, and we have to be better prepared even the second time around, because they're coming at us with the I'm not sure if that was something that I covered earlier, or I have in my list to cover, but the terror porn is already starting to ramp up. It was somebody was reporting about the spiking mpox cases in Toronto, Africa declaring a crisis, Tedros a couple of days at the World Homicide Organization saying we have to get enforcement ready for this next crisis. And I thought that everybody should get a hold of this video and watch it. I'm only going to play the first minute of this one here from Sudden and Unexpected for everybody. And think about it. What did the celebrities do to us? Right? The list of people involved in crimes against humanity is long. They all need to pay. Hashtag no amnesty. Pray that all the evil in our world will end and never happen again, that no one will ever trust these people again, and that they and all doctors and medical experts
Hello, my name
will be
is
brought
Michael
to
Caine.
justice.
I've just had a vaccine for COVID. It didn't hurt. Not many people know that.
This is for all you clowns out there that saying you guys gotta take the shot. Don't take it. I tell you what, as a grieving mother, I'm gonna tell you why my daughter took that shot yesterday in Las Vegas and she's dead. She took the Pfizer vaccine and she's dead. They couldn't even revive her. I'm begging you people, don't take it. They're killing us.
I'm Morgan Freeman. I'm not a doctor, but I trust science. And I'm told that for some reason people trust me. So here I am to say, I trust science and I got the vaccine. If you trust me, you'll get the vaccine.
I can't.
What? Has anything like this ever happened to your mother before? No.
They got the vaccine.
I don't. None that I know of.
I can't. Please don't.
The good news is that the vaccines are being rolled out. And they're, I mean, you're on the list.
Yeah, I can't wait to get. I will fight an old lady for that vaccine. I will.
No, come on.
Like Game of Thrones. I will grab.
No.
I will grab that. I'll be like a deranged junkie. I will grab the needle out of her arm.
Breathe, baby.
Can you talk to me? Can you say anything?
So to stop that variant from taking hold, America needs to vaccinate as many people as quickly as possible.
Come on, baby. Come on. Breathe, baby, breathe. It's okay.
But there are still nearly 20 million children around the world who are not getting the routine vaccines that they need to be safe. So please don't wait. Vaccinate yourself, vaccinate your children.
I've been hiding a lot and not showing exactly what this has done to me. But I'm done hiding, and I'm done being scared. There are several stories like mine. The same doctors who told us this was safe are the same doctors brushing us off as if we didn't matter. It is now time that we are heard, seen, and believed.
You always, I mean, the younger kids are vulnerable. You don't want to be putting things into younger children until.
I can't play the whole 24 minutes of that. These guys are monsters. They're absolute monsters, and they're going to try again. They're going to do it again. How committed are to this are they? Here's a post from Ezra Levant about a story that you guys are all probably pretty familiar with out there. They're so committed to keeping this evil covered up and to doing it again that they're willing to spend $5 million, $5 million bucks prosecuting Tamara Lynch. Probably more. Why? because she dared to peacefully object. It's about something far more dark and evil and nasty. This is what it's about. Diversity, getting rid of white people, and that's a good thing. It's about conquest of nations. They could never invade North America and conquest us through like Normandy beach landings and what we think of as war. They could never do that. So they perfected every devious psychological experiment and trick through the MK Ultra programs and neurolinguistics programs and propaganda and subliminal messaging, and have now operated that at scale, waging war upon us, these same sick, demented people that are trying to destroy us. And it's white people are the problem in the scourge. In Bangladesh, it's the Hindus. I've been trying to follow this story as well, where they just had a coup, an overthrow of a government in Bangladesh, and now the butcher squads, the Islamic butcher squads, are out there murdering Hindus at an astronomical rate. And nobody here in North America is covering it. The mercenary media is not covering it because it's an Islamic pogrom. This one's against Hindus in Bangladesh. And is being ignored by the global community because they're not the right kind of victims. They're Hindus. And I'll tell you, these people are monsters. How they behave. There was a reason, our veterans fought so hard against these radical monsters when they were in conflict. They've seen the horrors that these people will inflict, and it's beyond catastrophic or imagine. I can't begin to describe the videos that I've seen. It's tough to sleep covering the real news these days, I'll tell you that. Okay, we're already over my time, so we'll get on to some things that are a little bit closer to home here. Regarding electronic voting machines, they had a conference in the States, in Vegas, over the weekend to see if the best hackers, what they could do with the voting machines. And the end result, the determination, I just cut it down, pared it down to the final report, said that insecure elections are not a bug, but a feature. Not a bug, but a feature of electronic voting machines. They're only using them because they can control them, right? And a real short example of mercenary mockingbirds, mercenary media, mercenary gaslighting, where today we have CTV and some other mainstream mercenary garbage trash rags squealing about how Elon Musk used his social media platform to amplify right-wing views. No, biatch, that's not what he did. He, in one fell 2-hour swoop, exposed the fact that all of the world's mercenary media combined are irrelevant compared to the public square. He destroyed them. By this afternoon, there was more than 1 billion views on the space, just on the recording alone. I'll do a quick refresher for everybody so that everybody can see it here. Just directly on the stream itself was 236, almost 237 million views, and through proxies, recordings, and other distributions, it is well over 1 million people, right? A billion people. the biggest episode of the of anything in history before did not come close to reaching a billion people. So what they have literally done is Elon Musk has proven that legacy media is dead. It is dead, completely irrelevant, and it's absolutely time for Canada to get rid of this Fed-funded, hate manufacturing machine and existential threat. These people kill people. The media kills people. Their work kills people. People die because of what they do, and that has got to stop. Okay. Two other quick stories. If we don't stop them, this is just a case in point, another barometer, I guess, a measuring stick of what it's looking like in Ireland right now. A small community of 200 people has current migrant hotel plans of 280 people and a total migrant bed capacity of 500 and a family sponsorship of 3,000 people to a small community with a population of 200. Replaced. That's what happened there. That's what they're doing here. Same damn agenda. And how dare we say anything, or the anti-hate network will label you a danger and a threat to the state. Now, this video here, some of you, I'm not going to play the whole video, but some of you guys will have seen the plane crash that killed a bunch of people. That one where it just falls out of the sky. Well, there was a bunch of doctors that were, oh, sorry, I forgot to switch the page for you guys. This one here, where the plane falls out of the sky and kills everybody on board, 62 people. There was a big delegation, 15, I think, cancer specialists that were going there to blow the whistle on mRNA and turbo cancers. And 7 of them, I believe, got off the plane, and the rest obviously perished. But that, for somebody like me that does not buy coincidence, and we've seen this happen repeatedly, just like the one plane that was accidentally shot down in Iran carrying all of those nuclear scientists to the Ukraine. All those bioweapon scientists to the Ukraine. Plane just coincidentally goes down like that. Whenever they need a good plane crash, they seem to get it. So what else? Is that it? Is that all I've got for y'all tonight? I believe that is everything for tonight. As if that wasn't enough, right, guys? Wow, yeah, a bunch of people from a medical conference, absolutely. They were going to blow the whistle on cancers. So Brazil on Monday, yes. So much stuff, guys. That video from Sudden and Unexpectedly, that kind of rocks me every time I see that that stuff, and it's just knowing that it's coming again, watching all of the same places, the same patterns, wash, rinse, repeat. Guys, we cannot let this insanity take over again. If we don't get a grip on it and get ahead of it this time, and I believe we're far better educated, far better organized, but we still have a ways to go, and it's critical that we get plugged into each other in a physical sense, as well as in alternative communications. It's going to get more critical very, very soon, and take advantage. Print. Get a copy of this, print it off, see if there's stuff in there that resonates with you that you might be able to use something in there as a bridge point, a meeting point, on common ground, because we're all dealing with people that are emotionally panicked, and erratic. And this is a something that you guys can read that will help you guys get grounded in putting together the things that are priorities in your communities and regions. This was a compilation of all of the people that I met in the first couple of years of traveling back and forth and listening and taking notes. This is your voices. The best I could pay homage to your guys' voices on how you would see a recipe for fixing Canada. That's what this is a recipe for fixing Canada. We will talk about some of the actual logistics and legalities and jurisdictions, and more of that coming up in the coming days for sure. Tomorrow night is still up in the air, so it could be plan A, could be plan B, could be a guest, could be an investigative report. Who knows? Keep you guessing. But you can be sure that at 6 p.m. Central, 7 Eastern, I will be back again tomorrow with something that will probably scare the liver out of you or make you feel like you had a drink from a fire hose. I'll be on in the UK tomorrow again with Jim Ferguson at Freedom of Train International. Always a really great discussion. Talking with some really big American spaces the last couple of days. So lots going on, and people are listening. We're getting to a point where, even if our government won't let me get my voices out to folks like you because they keep taking you away, we're getting it out there in other ways, and it's all part and parcel of you guys, the shares, the loves, the likes, all of those things. Make sure that you get plugged in at whatsupcanada.substack.com. That's where I'll have all of this stuff in print for you guys tomorrow. All of the links, the best ways to beat the censorship and get a hold of us as they get plugged in. Get subscribed on lgm.news or whatsupcanada.org. If you have a story, something that you think is you're a whistleblower, something more that's somebody hasn't covered or we need to cover, send me an email at contact@whatsupcanada.org. Yes, it is always a good time to buy me a coffee. It's the worst thing the thing I am worst at is asking for help with this platform and what we do. It's I'm kind of one of those low maintenance guys. So long as I've got a plate of macaroni and a cup of coffee, I'm usually pretty good. I don't think about too much moving forward. I don't do this for lifestyle. I do this to make sure I can get as much of the dang truth out as I can before I end up in the memory hole, or all of my life's work ends up in the memory hole and I end up in a gulag, because that day seems to be getting closer faster. So I got to talk more and quicker. Support your favorite local trusted journalists. There are people out here that have been working hard doing the lion's share of the work. They deserve your help and support. There's always going to be a cause, guys. Every day there's going to be somebody coming with something else that's worthy and good and needs to be done. And that's what happens. And the guys that like me, whether it's me or somebody else like me, they suck at running it as a business, because it's not a business to them. It's a passion. It's a calling. We're called to do this, so we don't think about that. It makes us terrible at it, and then we end up in that same catch-22. So I encourage you guys, whoever your favorite independent, authentic journalist is, please support them to the best of your ability. If by some stroke of fortune and good hard work, this is the platform that you choose to help out, this is the best way to do it, that I get 100% of what you guys give. There's other places where people can help, but they all get a little bit. This is how I get 100% of it versus other things. So I think I hit everything with a sledgehammer tonight, hey guys. So yeah, tomorrow will be another whole new adventure. I love y'all. Stay mighty. God wins at the end. Insanity is unsustainable. Yeah, support localism. It's the 100% safe and effective cure for globalism. And yeah, so on that note, that's what this partner of ours represents most: faith, family, and freedom. They support us in ways that no other partner or sponsor out there in this digital verse can or will. And if they do come at us with more of these lockdowns and distancing measures and travel restrictions, I hope that you guys have learned some alternatives. And this is what we specialize in over at Patriot Switch. And I've got my milkshake with me. I will see you guys all tomorrow. Love y'all. Bye for now.